Yes, yes, y'all. You know what time it is. It's time for your daily dose of light. TheDailyBreadProject.com coming at you live every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern. And there are going to be some schedule changes coming up. I'll announce them on the next one. But we're going to bring you the light. We're going to bring this thing live to Facebook. We are going to bring in our guest, who I see is here. So let me do the technical stuff before we get into the rock and roll you came for, your daily dose of nourishment and goodness. So guest, I'm not going to announce you just yet. I'm going to bring you live, then I'm going to bring us to Facebook, and I'll give you the proper intro you deserve. Let me first start with this. I'm promoting you to panelist now. I'm going to bring this thing into the Facebook universe and live onto the page. You are listening to thedailybreadproject.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you're here. We're going to bring you everything that's good in the world today and leave you better than you showed up. At least that's our mission here, to improve you, improve your state of mind, improve your state of heart. And it looks like the technology gods are cooperating. So let me do what I do here. And then we will, oh, maybe the technology gods are not cooperating. We might have to give that another shot. So let me do that really quickly because it says it doesn't like what I'm doing here. Let's reset this and then we'll try one more time and I'll give you your proper intro, sir. Be patient. I know this has been a long time coming. But if it doesn't work, we'll record it. I don't mind doing that either, but it's always nice to have a live on Facebook. Not that we actually talk to anybody, but good practice, I suppose. We'll give it one more shot, and if it doesn't work, we're going to go into recording mode, and I'll trim the front end of this off. And I'm glad you're here, by the way. Glad we could do this. Yeah, it looks like something is not working, so we're just going to record this thing. I don't want to mess with all that, so let me do a proper intro, and we'll rock into it. You are listening to thedailybreadproject.com. The world is full of chaos, uncertainty. People are freaking out, wearing masks, social distancing. And here we're doing quite the opposite. We're grounded. We're bringing you the light. We're bringing you the goodness, and we're bringing you together. Because right now, more than ever, we need to be together. And that is why I am not sitting here by myself, social distancing. I need to come up with something that's opposite of social inclusioning. No, that's ugly. I don't like it. I don't care what it is. I'm bringing you together, baby, with all the best people I know. And today I have a very special guest, long time in the making. This guy's so dang busy. It's taken me 3 times to get him on the show. Mr. Nate Armstrong from the Social Media Blueprint. What is up, my man?
Jonathan, it is an honor to be here. I appreciate so much what you're doing with the show and then what you're doing in general. You and your wife are changing entrepreneurs, so I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, you included Cupcake in on that. She might have to listen to this episode now that she knows we're talking about her.
Man, she's good. She's good. I know that you know that, but I'm very impressed. She's on top of everything she says she's going to do. She's on it. So I like her.
I love it, man. I love it. And so I'm going to do I have to do this. I have to do a quick screen share so everybody can see this. And right here, you'll see in this bottom corner, Social Media Blueprint, Nate Armstrong. He is showing investors many different ways to get deals. See, investors think that there's 1 or 2 ways to get deals. I think you've got, 13 different ways to get deals?
Yeah, 17 now. We're up
17.
to 17.
This guy, he just keeps adding ways. So in other words, there is no excuse. Anybody working with Mr. Nate Armstrong, there's no excuse for you not to get a deal. So I love what you're doing as well. And he is part of the Podcast Factory family, as you can see. And we're going to jump into this. Let me give you the lay of the land. We're going to talk about power, positivity, leadership, love, and opportunity. And let's start with power. Mr. Armstrong, from where do you draw your power?
That's an easy one for me. So the power comes from some biblical principles. And I remember, and you probably remember this, there's a story that is told as a parable about talents. And it's not like talents the modern day, but it's referred to as currency. And this currency was given from a master to three people, three of his servants. And the three servants each took the money and then they did something with it. They invested it, or one of them in one case buried it under some dirt. And when the master returned, he said, "Hey, you foolish one that buried it under the dirt, you did wrong. That wasn't the right thing to do. Like, you need to go out and be a good steward of money." And when I hear that principle and I think about our daily lives right now, if we're not being a good steward of money, time, and what we do with our actual talents on this earth, then I think we're doing wrong. We're doing wrong by the one and only. So my power really comes from the big guy, man. Like, I want to be a good steward. I want people to remember that I was a good steward.
Time, talent, and treasure. I love it. I love it, man. Great, great, great. And couldn't agree with you more. Is the more you cultivate that, the more it benefits everybody, not just us, but the people that we help, and also glorifying His name. So dig it very much, and thank you for bringing that, because we've been off that path a little bit lately. So I appreciate you for that. And so let's move to this next spot, because we haven't known each other very long, but I find you to be a positive person. I find you to be uplifting. And so I'm curious, how do you stay positive?
So that I thank my wife for actually helping pull that cord in our family, because she grew up, her dad, he's a super good dude, but he grew up in a military environment where it was like tough, rug, you got to be tough to survive kind of thing. And so when we first got married, she carried some of that with her into the marriage. And we both were very honest with one another, and we talk all the time. And she said, "You know what? I don't want to live the same style that my dad lived life. I want to smile more. I want to enjoy life." And then she did a lot of researching and talked to other wives and moms and whatnot. And she came up with this idea of a gratitude tree. And so literally every morning on our wall, we've got this tree that my son and my wife, they made out of like construction paper type stuff. And they pasted it together, and there's little leaves that are sitting below it. And we take a marker and we write down what we're thankful for right away in the morning. And then we paste it to the tree so it looks like a leaf. And this tree just keeps filling up and filling up every single day. And it makes us realize, like, you know what, there's challenges out there and there's problems in the world, but we've got stuff to be thankful for. Like, there's so much good. We have not gone a single day without food. Like, not everybody in the world can say that. We have a roof over our heads. Like, just the simple things in life sometimes we forget about because we get caught up in this day-to-day rush and whatnot. But we are so blessed, man. Like, life is good. So my wife, the gratitude tree.
I am going to ask you, if you don't already have a picture of that, at least share a picture with us inside the Facebook group,
Yeah.
because I love that idea and the way that you put it, because I think your son's about the same age as ours, 5, 6,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yep. 6.
That is a great way to teach him, because it's just that little bit, just that little thing in the morning, and his hands on, and what are we grateful for? That's going to just impact him for the rest of his life. And so
Agreed.
starting that way, I didn't grow up with that. I don't know if you grew up with that, but I didn't grow up with the grateful. All I grew up with was what we don't have.
Yeah. Yep. I same here. Very much the same.
It's beautiful, man. And so let's continue on that path. So I love the idea of the gratitude tree, and I'm going to hit you up in the Facebook group for a picture of that to share with everybody. The other thing is, how do you protect your mind from all the things going on out there? Because it's easy to get sucked into the news and all the hype and the bad news people are sharing. And so how do you protect yourself from that?
You know, I went through a pretty big setback. I got up and running business and whatnot. And then 5 years into my journey, I got a little overextended. Well, not a little, a lot. I took on a big development project. And the development project, it was a $6 million project, and a bunch of stuff went wrong. And push came to shove, my wife and I had to downsize. We went from a beautiful 3-bedroom suburbs house to a 1-bedroom apartment. And I remember in the midst of that, like, I was freaking out. I didn't know how to pay for the taxes, the insurance, the operating costs. Like, I was nervous as heck. And in the midst of all of that, I remember my son, because we had to share one room and we shared a bed literally. And I remember my son, like, he was happy as a clam. Like, he didn't really know what was going on or anything, but he was so happy. And I remember just seeing that, like, if he can be happy in the midst of like danger and calamity like this, like why can't us as adults? Sometimes us as adults, we get lost and we're trained to think certain ways, but kids are so pure, like in their form. And I looked at him and I just remember I felt like I was being spoken to, and I just needed to center where my time went, where my focus went. And I changed priorities in life during that. Prior to that, I was a workaholic. I worked nonstop, and it was work, family, and then God if I had time. And in the midst of all that, I totally changed, and I got priorities straight. Now it's the other way around. It's God, family, and then work. And amazingly, when you put stuff in the right priority, like, and put your focus where it should be, things work out. Like I've seen that. We were able to come out of that bad situation by doing a whole bunch of deals that God more than paid for. I remember when we had our first 6-figure month, and it was like, holy cow, it never happened in my life before that. And then we just kept going and going, and eventually got out of the bad project. And now, like, I look back and I can smile about it now because it was a lesson. It was kind of like this whole crazy situation when this virus hits the world. For some people, it's bad. Like, for other people, they see this and they say, you know what do I need to focus in on? And for me, learning the lesson that I went through that tough time, I focus. When something challenging comes, it's time to get down and focus 100%.
So let's talk about that. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought. The virus comes, the pandemic hits, and what do you think of? What do you say I need to focus in on right now?
Well, okay, so my wife and I, we live on this block, and we've got to watch the neighbors a lot, right? Because you get to see out the window and you pass the time by watching squirrels and the neighbors sometimes. And so the first few days, I watched my neighbor, who's formerly a pilot. Maybe he still is, I don't know. But the first 3 days, he was outside. He's got little kids too. And I saw him walking around every day with a big like koozie filled with ice cubes. And then his daughter wanted to play with him, but he was staring off into abyss. And it was like, wow, like, I don't know that that's the approach to go through. Like, obviously, airline industry folks are going through a tough time, so I get it. But instead, like, what my family and I did is we literally, instead of like binging out and trying to just disappear, we canceled Netflix. We said, you know what? We're not going to binge out and do this. Like, this is time to get focused. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but I'll tell you what, if we get lazy and distracted, we're definitely not going to be able to make the right move when the right move needs to be made. So we said, you know what, we're going to focus. We're going to work harder. My wife is homeschooling. So rather than my son getting behind, he's actually ahead right now. She bought curriculum and did this whole homeschool routine. And we accidentally started on second grade instead of first grade, and he's keeping pace. He's running. And so I think that you just, it's all about where you focus your time, your energy. So don't get distracted with Netflix. It's time to step up and lead during times that are tough.
Man, I'm like, I still got my subscription. I don't watch it, but I still have it. I like the extreme attitude of cutting the Netflix.
Well, in truth, we did swap it out for PureFlix.
Okay.
PureFlix versus Netflix. So we still have our weekend movie, but it's just usually inspirational stories.
I like that. I like that. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit here, and I want to talk about how your leadership has adapted or changed both at home and at work with your team and with your clients. Any part of that has changed, shifted, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely more serve mentality right now. I remember, and this dates back 3 months ago now, when the tornado hit the Nashville area. We do some business in Nashville, and so I was down there, and a few days afterwards, it was a mess everywhere. And then I saw this like overwhelming, people were just jumping in their car and they drive out and go help their neighbor. And so we were guests in Nashville, but my wife and I said, let's go. We got some gloves, my son, her and I, and we went out and we started helping clean up debris. And like, it was really cool because my son got to, mostly for my son got to help this elderly couple, and he got to see and hear their story. Their garage collapsed on their car, and we cleaned up trees and debris that they wouldn't have been able to do on their own. So my son, like, he just loved this. And if that made us feel so good inside, not for like being able to say that we did it, but just to do it. Like, you feel so good when you can serve other people. And right now, the business that I'm in, the real business, so we help sellers sell their property. That's kind of the cut and dry of it. And so we're real estate investors. And so if you take that same service attitude into every deal that you do, you can help a lot of people, especially right now. Like, our phones are so busy. We're getting more calls right now than we ever have before in company history because A, a lot of people need help. And then B, everybody is stuck home during a time like this, and they're on the internet more and they're searching for solutions to their problem. So service, service, service. That's the big change.
All right. So I want to challenge you just for fun.
Yeah.
So, and it's not, I don't believe this, but I think it's an interesting thought that if you pull joy from your service, is it actually service? Are you actually doing it for the right reasons? What would you say to that?
Yeah. Repeat the first part again. If you pull what?
If you get joy from doing that service, is it really a service, or is it really you being selfish because you're pulling joy out of it?
You've got a good challenge there. I feel a little bit selfish right now talking about it because we didn't go there and do it to talk about it. We went there and did it because it felt good. And so I think there is some selfishness in it. Like, it's actually easy to donate money. It doesn't matter if you give $10 at your church or if you give $100 to it. That's easy to do. When you go and give your time and you see how it impacts people, that feels so good. Like, so good. So it is a little bit selfish. It is.
It's funny because I'm in the Knights of Columbus, and also I was doing a Bible study group before all this went down, and one of these old school guys, and this is the reason why I ask you, he's like, I've never seen the face of God. I've fed the homeless, and it's never felt good. And he actually thinks that's the way it should be. Like, you should pull no joy. And I think to glorify God's name, you got to feel joy. And
Mm.
so I think that doing the things, you're not doing them for that joy, but the joy is your gift for doing it. And so I just like to talk about that because I think it's such a bizarre thing, and I'm curious if I'm the only one.
Oh, no, no. Like, what you just described, you're spot on. And the gentleman that you just described, that sounds like the Pharisees of the day of when Jesus walked the earth. The Pharisees did things because it was ritual. They had to do it. And they wanted to be seen doing it. And then this hippie loving peace guy, Jesus, comes along and says, you know what? No, we give from here, from our heart. And so I think you just described one of the old Pharisees, and that was the Old Testament. There's also a New Testament that describes how we should treat one another.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, perfect time to talk about love. What opportunities? What are you seeing right now? What do you love out there?
So I'm going to go back a little bit to the service side. Right now, if you're in a business that you can help other people and get paid to do it and fully disclose it, talk about it up front, then this is a golden time to be able to help people. So I just took a call 2 weeks ago from a widow. She's a lady that lost her husband a year or so ago. She's got kids. And she came in off of one of our ads that we run. And she said, you know what, I need help. I'm 2 months behind on my mortgage. I got a second property and I need to sell the second property. And I pumped the brakes a little bit because I don't ever want to like feel like I've taken advantage of anybody in my life, especially a widow with children. No way. So I pumped the brakes and I said, you know what, how about this? I think you're going to get top dollar if I hook you up with my best realtor and we get it sold that way. And then we started exploring that. And like, I genuinely just went in to serve 100%, gave my time. And then when it all came down to it, she's like, you know what, Nate, I'd love to do that, but I have 14 days. I've already been served foreclosure notice. Realtors have already told me it's not an option. You're my only hope. And then I said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. What number do you need? She told me her number. And I said, you know what? I think we can do a little bit better than that. How about we give you 10 extra on top of that? And if I'm able to sell it higher, then we will share that with you as well. And she was so floored, like thanking me up and down. So I think right now, opportunities that I love is truly being able to serve. And most of the people that I encounter that enter the real estate space, they're doing like these crazy techniques. They're doing like cold calling and whatnot. And that's bad positioning. Instead, if you're the person that can actually do what you got into the business to do, help people, and you got people coming to you asking for it, it changes the dynamics of the game completely.
That is, I have friends that spend a lot of time cold calling, and I keep telling them, man, there's a better way. I'm telling you, there's a better way, and you just described it. When somebody is calling you, that is the better way because they're looking for your help. I love it, man. So let's fast forward now. 5 years from now, we're thinking back to the crazy time that we were all social distancing and sheltering in place. How do you want to be remembered, Nate?
So I want to be remembered for replacing the outdated college system. I'm going to make a statement and I'll probably get some haters because of it, but I got a 6-year-old boy now. You got a 5 or 6-year-old boy as well. I am not going to pay for my son's college. I'm not saving a penny for it. I just don't believe that that's the right path today. I believe that if you teach people a lot of what you and Rachel teach, like I love being on your guys' marketing calls and inside that group, there's so much wisdom that's shared in that 1 hour per week that I never learned in college. And when I went to college, like I came out, even after scholarships and whatnot, I came out with 40 some $1,000 in student loans. And I spent 5 years slaving away every spare penny I had just to pay those suckers off. And if I would have jumped in, if I would have met a guy like you sooner, or if I would have went to the right system where I actually was taught marketing and leadership and business, like real business school, then I would have been much better off earlier on in my career. So I want to be the guy that replaces the college system. I don't like that outdated system anymore.
Damn, Nate, that's a big one. You want to take out college? I'm joining you on that adventure.
I could use your help, man, because
Uh,
you and Rachel have a lot of talents that could help a lot of people.
I love it, man. And that's we actually I do I'm calling it programming. I have Steve Seibold here, secrets multi self-made millionaires teach their kids, and I tell Hudson, hey, it's programming time. I got to program you with a story. And yesterday's reading was school teaches you what to think, like memorizing facts, not how to think. And we really need more kids who know how to think so that they can keep this world moving forward. So I love it, man. Social Media Blueprint is Nate's podcast, Nate Armstrong on the social medias. Where else can people find you?
Yeah. Everywhere at Social Media Blueprint is basically it, but socialmediablueprint.com is the easiest spot.
Boom. Social Media Blueprint, Nate Armstrong, bringing the light. And just in case you guys don't know, light is leadership in good and hard times. This is the dailybreadproject.com coming to you at 10 a.m. Eastern daily. Thank you, Nate, for bringing the light. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you picked up 1 tip, 2 tips, 3 tips, be a hero. Share this show with somebody. Thank you guys. Love you. And that is a wrap.